Okay, this is about student debt and what happens if the Supreme Court strikes down student loan forgiveness. They were going to forgive some student debt. This is just a couple days ago. This is from January 29th, 2023. And there's three predictions of what's going to happen. Now, I have a whole nother take on student debt. I think students have been literally used. Let's talk about that. All right, the reason I got on this kick about student debt, they've been really taken advantage of. You see this Understanding Einstein, the Special Theory of Relativity, the course starts today. You could go for free through Coursera. You see this? Enroll for free. Now, if you want a degree and so forth, I think you have to pay. I never paid for any of it. And I went to virtually every school you can think of. I've gone to the University of Geneva, everywhere, just about everywhere. This is Stanford. I've gone to Yale. I've gone to a bunch of them. Yale, you can go quantum or online. Very simple. Now, and they send you this stuff from Coursera. They're the best. Coursera is the absolute best. I've been using them since they came online. I think they're 2012, somewhere around there. And this is all the stuff I can go for free. Stanford University, Einstein, Mathematics for Engineering, Hong Kong University, Vanderbilt University, Electrodynamics, Korea Advanced Institute. I mean, this is all, and they follow you, and they know what you like, and you've been going into, and then they send all this stuff, quantum optics. I think I went to that. I've gone to all over the place. Wesleyan, that's right downtown from me. Johns Hopkins, I went there. Relativity, cosmology. I mean, it just goes on and on and on. Black holes, physics, forces and fundamentals, kinetics, Rice. I went to Rice. Now, here's the key, though. You could say you went there, but what does that mean? It doesn't mean anything. But it will mean something if you do this. Now, they won't give you a piece of paper unless you pay, I don't think. But here's what you want to do. Do like I do. Make yourself a book of all the things you did and put little labels on it and so forth. Do a better job than I did. This is just for my own use. But this is final. All right? Don't put the stuff in here until you feel pretty comfortable. And then you can change it a little bit. But start out with something like this. All right? Which is just papers. You get back to the pencil and paper. This is a first draft of the new particle physics and how you accelerate the light and dark particles and all that stuff. And these are my claims about the structure of the nucleus and all that business. So that's how you want to do it, because then you can go to an employer and say, I went to all these places. I went to all those places. And then you say, here's my books. I show you exactly what I learned. Otherwise, it means nothing. All it means is you said what they told you to say. That's all. And then they give you a piece of paper because you said what they told you to say. You say, and my stuff says, I don't believe this because this wasn't right. This doesn't work. This didn't work. Whatever the case is, I make my own case here. And then that way there, you have something to present to your employer. Because I'm telling you right now, very soon, it will mean nothing. I don't care how many PhDs you have, they're all wrong. History's wrong. Geology's wrong. Electronics, the deep relativity stuff is completely wrong. All right, I want you to know something. Coursera is the best you can possibly do as far as being involved with a range of different universities all over the world, not just in the United States, everywhere in the world. I went to the University of Geneva, and then, of course, Johns Hopkins, and all the other ones I think I mentioned them before. But Coursera, they will follow you. They literally, listen to this. We combed our catalog and found courses that we think match your interests. Browse our recommendation below and start learning something new today. And I was going to go into this Einstein one. I'm not gonna, because I don't believe Einstein was right. And all I was going to do there is going to go there to argue with him. And it just doesn't work. So, but you can go for free, enroll for free. It started today, the 23rd. Now, then they say financial aid available. Apparently, if you pay them, then they'll interact with you or whatever they do, and then they'll give you a piece of paper saying you went there. Again, if I showed you this already or not, I believe I did. This is the way I would do it, and present this to your prospective employer about the courses that you took on Coursera, and they'll be impressed that you don't have student debt. They'll be impressed. I would be. And otherwise than that, Mudfossil University, we cover everything. And I mean, I cover it better than you're going to get at any of these universities. What you will learn at Mudfossil University, and if you will do the same thing I'm talking about, eventually this will be the world-renowned leader in education. There's no other way. Everybody else is just saying what they were told to say. No investigation whatsoever. All I do is material investigation. And I have been documenting it and making videos of it. And sooner or later, it will be constructed in courses. But you can do this for yourself. Just do what I'm telling you. Do it this way, and then you'll be so far ahead of everybody else. You won't have any debt, and you'll have knowledge that is unsurpassed. Okay, I've been talking about this for 7 years now. We discovered the same particles that CERN and Fermilab have discovered, only we use light, which is much more elegant than doing it, slamming huge protons together. And we did also find the quantum foam, which is all the light particles. Light is a particle, and it is the quantum foam. And if you have a question or an answer, or a question, contact Don Lincoln. And I tried that. It didn't work out well. We did find his particles, and here they are, exactly the same, 7 years ago. And we actually split those particles into the components. The black particle is the muon neutrino. The white particle turns into a shower. That is supposedly what CERN and all the rest of them are looking for, is these particles. We found them. Now let's see what they have to say about that. See, this is the other thing. Empty space isn't empty. Well, if it's not empty, I can tell you why it's not empty, and they flicker on and off like a dizzying display of change. All these particles that are out there, if they get banged into by another light particle, they just glow for a second. They blip, 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 on and off. Dizzying display of change. Bubbling, appearing, and disappearing. Well, they only appear because they're getting banged into. That means everything that's out there, which is dust and light particles and everything, they're getting banged into all the time. That's the cosmic background radiation and cosmic microwave background radiation. And they're just slow particles because they're getting banged into and just getting slower, slower. The universe isn't necessarily expanding. Light's just slowing down. There is no vacuum in space. They're talking about it being saturated with light particles and particles of dust and everything else. They never even account for that. They think it's just a total vacuum. Light never slows down. That's why they can measure how far everything's going out. No, they can't measure that whatsoever. Okay, anybody who's been following me for the last 6, 7 years knows that we accelerated light. We created fission and fusion. The black particles separated from the white, created sterile muons and electron showers. And this is where they came back together. That's fusion. Fission, fusion. In between, we should be able to harvest absolutely scads of free energy. You see this? Using the same principles I'm talking about, they created an impossible light sensor of 200% efficiency. All they used was transition metals and thin films which could sense and pick up all these extra electrons from these high-powered lasers that they're shining on the substrate. In addition to that, we used a Venturi, which should increase it much more than 200%. 200% is a double what you put into it, you got double back. That's free energy. Okay, I claim that the nucleus of every atom and every proton is made up of these tiny little dipole particles. which is the black and the white together. They call them Dirac neutrinos. This is CERN and Fermilab. These are particles they found. These are the particles we found, exactly the same particles. And we did it using light instead of taking particles like this and smashing them head on and just getting debris. The debris they got, they can't interpret the way we can. We can see these particles actually develop as a photon, and then we can see them split the black from the white. And here they split. The black comes away from the white. Only the white is allowed to go through because of the design of the Venturi. Rod Warren did this and should be recognized for his invention here. It's going to be called the Warren effect. And here it is right here, which accelerates the light. Nothing more than a liquid. Light is a liquid, and it's like thousands and thousands of times smaller than an atom, you know, a molecule of water, H2O. This is, I don't know, I figured it out, something 14,000, I can't remember. Thousands and thousands and thousands of times smaller, but it exactly works the same as light. I mean, as water. Light is exactly like water. It's a liquid. And when it squirts through that nozzle, it accelerates. And when it accelerates, the black stayed away from the white. Because of the design of it, that black keeps smashing. Here's what happens. The black comes down, bam, 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 and it's too big and too hard to go squish down through this little slit. It can't squish down. The white can. You see the white up here? The white can squish down small, and it can get a little bit bigger. It gets bigger as it contacts with the particles that are in front of it, going through the air. You see those little white particles in front glowing? They're glowing because that one is banging into them, saying, get the hell out of the way. This one here is shielded by the black, so it's diminishing. But when that gets so filled up, it will flip. Then that one comes to the front, that one will go in the back. This one will now just start to charge up. That's what creates the spinning particles, the wobble. I've shown very, very clearly how this works, and it's time to start utilizing this. This is not silly. This is something that we can use for free energy, I think, almost certainly. You see this? Scientists produce a sensor that converts light into an electric signal at an astonishing 200% efficiency, seemingly impossible figure achieved through the weirdness of quantum physics. They used thin film transition metals, basically, to be able to absorb all the electron shower. Because once you create a shower, you didn't just have one, you created a shower of them. Just one particle creates a whole shower of them. And then if you can harvest that, hold on, let me show you how I think we can use it. Okay, don't forget, these two particles are attached together, the black and the white, the Dirac neutrinos. And what happens is when they hit the Venturi here, only the white is allowed through. The black is too big and too hard. It's a solid mass, and it's actually dark matter and dark energy, and it holds on to the white particle. But the white particle can squish down and squeeze through, as I showed you. See, it can get small or big. The black can't do that. Black is one size fits all. And again, the same thing that CERN and Fermilab. So don't forget now, this is CERN and Fermilab's particles showing a little picture of something. And this is ours showing the actual particles and how the actual particles separate. And there's their other little doodle there that shows the same thing, the separation of the muon and electron neutrino into a sterile muon and electron shower, which we did. And when you create the shower, one electron might stimulate 100 electrons. I don't know. Nobody knows because they refuse to look at it. Now, what we did was, actually, here's their Higgs boson. There's Higgs fields. And the red is not held real strongly, so they stay kind of here. The rest of them, they're real tight to the core. They take way off. And so that's why they see what they see. We see the same thing, only we're using coherent light. That's our Higgs fields. That's not just a doodle, that's a real actual picture. And we are also show the muons I mean, well, we showed the muons, electron neutrinos, but we showed the neutrinos too. These are the different flavors of neutrinos as they're coming up to become a photon. You see this one has a black, a white, and a black. This one has a white, a black, and a white. These are different flavors. And that's a photon of light. And they all have the same color, same physical characteristics. The photon, you see the red, same thing. You see the red, same particle. Now, this is the same thing here. Here's all the neutrinos around photons. And then they split over here. So we're showing all of the things that they have asked to see right there in front of you. We're showing light slows down. The blue is a real steamer. It comes through, and then it starts to slow down. There you can see that the black, there has two whites. You almost can't even see that. It's so fast spinning. But they all do have this same characteristic right here. That's what a photon looks like. So I think it's time to evaluate this evidence. And if this is true, which it is true, this particular event right here should create scads of extra energy. And it's pulsating. This is pulsed. Boom, 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 slapping. Like bowling balls pushing those whites through. They have to go. Where do they go? Right now they come back and attach to the black ones very quickly. They don't want to be apart. They do not want to be apart. They really want to be back together. And bam, 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 bam. And the black ones stay away from the white ones. Here's what we can do. We can use that transition metal film they're talking about, which harvests all this, every color, and shoot the laser through there and get hundreds of times possibly. Right now they're only getting 200%. We could get 200 times, I think, or more. And when it hits, it drives it down through the diode, a photodiode. So it's boom, boom, boom. And all they are, photons, are nothing more than electrons. But there's two of them at a time. They come down and they're nothing more than electrons. And what we are going to do is take the white part and charge up the batteries, or whatever we want to use it for. It's just electricity. And this could be held in your hand, a little hand, a handheld device. You never have to, I'll show it again, because it would be this simple. And if we could get this kind of energy, the electricity, because it's coming right out of electricity. It's a solid state. It's almost nothing to do here. Very simple. Regulation devices, a dime a dozen. Lasers, dime a dozen. Transition metal, thin film, you could spray it on it like spray paint, dime a dozen. All of this stuff is cheap. Venturi, virtually free. Put it in a box like this, carry this around to disaster areas, and you could put it in your car, your house, heat your house, light plants, grow plants in the woods or anywhere you want. Do whatever you want with this. You'd be able to use 220, 110, AC, DC, 50, 60 cycle, USB, anything you want. And I think we could do it right now if they would take a look at this. There's no sense to use these big protons, because then you have to have all kinds of special equipment to harvest that energy, because it's coming in the form of heat normally, or basically heat. We're raw electrons, right in there, case closed. I've been doing a lot on this light. This is crazy not to look into this. Experiments show light is a superfluid, and the Venturi effect accelerates the light. Yes, absolutely. None of this stuff is understood. And the vacuum of space is not a vacuum. It's saturated with particles. It's called the quantum foam. Nothing I'm making up. Empty space isn't empty. The particles go on and off, dizzying speed. They change, showing up and disappearing. That's because when they hit, they light up. Everything that hits another particle lights it up, and as it passes by, it turns back off again. Simple as that. No big mystery here. But empty space isn't empty. So that means everything coming at us is slowing down because it's banging into the stuff that's in front. Just like the blue particle I showed you. The blue particle is banging into the gases that are in front of it. If there was nothing in front of it, maybe it would go forever, zzz, just like that. But it's hitting against a new atmosphere, and it has to slow down. All light slows down. I can't believe that they don't understand this. I just can't believe it. And they think that the particles of light coming from the sun are nothing. Obviously there's something. They're particles, and here they are, again, shown them. Boom. There's green ones. Boom. There's red ones. Boom. There's blue ones. And they come in all different colors. That's the different frequencies. And coming off the sun, they can get ripped and shredded apart. So we may just get some black ones in all areas and some white ones, and they can be totally separated. We know there's absolutely no question whatsoever they can be separated. The black can be separated from the white. And the Russians did it in space by putting charged particles in a vacuum chamber, and a whole black hole appeared in the center. It was very cool. See, there it is in space. They did that in a vacuum chamber, and charged particles, and a black hole showed up in the center. It pushed all the black particles together into the center. And the only reason they could do it was because it was in zero gravity. Well, not zero, actually. See how it's a little flat? It's still trying to push down towards the Earth, but not like it would at the Earth. At the Earth, it would be just one straight line of white particles. In space, it tries to form the black hole. In this wide open space, way out there, which nobody had a real strong attraction to it, it would just be a perfectly round hole, and it would be black in the center. So they can form anywhere. It's just if you have a whole batch of extra white particles, they're going to collect around the black particles. Black particles go right together on top of themselves. That's why there's so many black holes around. They're talking about them now like, we really figure they're there, but we just never knew it because we can't see them. You can't see them because they don't radiate, they don't emit, they don't absorb, they don't do anything. They attract white particles, yes. So I guess you could say they're absorbed, but that's the only time we ever see anything is light bouncing off it. That's the only thing we can see. But inside, in the center, is the black hole. It's like if I did this, did this. Right here. This is what a proton looks like. Whenever we see any particles bouncing back at us, it's light. They have to bounce back from the glowy part. All right? This is the glowy part. This one is the inside. If you open it up and went into the inside, you'd find the dark matter is in the inside, and it's surrounded by the white particles. So we never, ever, ever have seen the dark matter before because it's inside the white matter. That's why things have a weight to them. They know that the white matter has almost no weight whatsoever. The dark particles have all the weight. That's why you just heard that go bang, because that's where all the weight is in this. But it's inside the glowy part. So the only time we ever see anything is when it bounces particles back at us. It's really not that hard to understand. Okay, my friends, I'm going to start out with the Mudfossil discovery that I made 10 years ago. And I tried to present to academia, and nobody would allow it to be seen. And it's still to this day, not a single academic will look at this. I discovered the process that turned this goose head, even his feathers, the feather pattern, you see it there? I don't know if you can see that or not, but those are the feathers that were in this goose's head. It's my buddy Caesar, and every one of them is flat on one side. They all died in a flood, and it was a hot water flood. Velikovsky recorded it. Everywhere on Earth they talked about this event. And there's creatures here that I can't explain. They're not like us. They have springs in the feet instead of bones. I call them no-toes. Now, I had DNA tests done on 3 of my specimens. This was before I found the no-toes and some of the other stuff. But 2 of them were giants. One of them was a 36-inch fingertip, 36 inches long. I'm going to show it to you. A lung and a mud tip. The mud tip was from another hand. Now, This was done with extreme, excellent cautiousness. They did negative controls on everything, checked for all kinds of density and optical this and that, and you know, again, this is a little outside my scope, but it was done very, very well. It's all detailed here, exactly what they did. This test is online. You can take a look at it. It was done by Helix Biolabs, and they were outstanding, and they were attacked for doing this. And he said to him, I talked to him again after that because I know he was attacked. And he said, I'll stand behind the test results, but just so long as everybody knows I was the one, Roger Spur was the one that extracted these blood samples, literally blood samples, out from these gigantic body parts, and sent them off in glassine bags, little plastic bags, basically. And all of the negative controls were negative. All of the DNA was, well, two of them were excellent quality. Here it is right here. They sent this stuff off to another company, Eaton Biosciences, for whatever they do. And anyway, it was excellent quality DNA sequence. It was obtained for the 36-inch tip and for the lung. The hand was more of a Mudfossil, and I'll show you these in a second. But this is what it came back for: Homo sapien mitochondrial cytochrome B and D loop on both of these. And he said it was dense. It was very, very dense. It was excellent quality. And this was all the sequences. Now, this is not some puppy test. And this was the first one done, I think, in the world, certainly on human ancient DNA out of rocks. Nobody's ever suspected this was possible. And that's why they refused to look at it. So let's go a little deeper with this, because this has to be taken into account now. It's just too many years have gone by. All right, I talked about the 36-inch fingertip. There it is right there. From here to the front is approximately 36 inches. This is a fingernail. You see it? Take your time. Let me turn off this light. Gives it a little better contrast sometimes. I'm not saying it will, but let's try. This is the fingernail. This, of course, is the tip. This is the bumper pad that bumps up against your next bone so that they don't scrub and scratch the bones up. This is the blood supplies. This little piece that's broken off over here, I broke that off. It was on there, and I took because you can't get blood out of this, and I needed to get blood out of it. It was so hard on the outside that there was nothing I could do to get blood out of it. So I broke this off with a little hammer, slam, and it just popped right off. It was just like skin. It was like a Velcro down there. I'm not kidding you, and I'll show it to you. It came off, and it still has the fingerprints on there. So this is the 36-inch fingertip, and that's on that report with excellent quality DNA, and that's because I drilled down inside into the DNA. Just so you know, fingertips are completely saturated with blood, completely saturated. So once again, don't forget, there's plenty of DNA or blood in here, but you got to get down past the outside, which is completely devoid of blood. Now here's what I came off. That piece broke right off of there. This is literally the same as your fingerprints. These are the sweat pores. You see sweat pores? This came right off just like this. And on the other side, it's just like this here too. It was like Velcroed on to the fleshy part. The fleshy part is saturated with blood, as I just showed you. So we had the fingernail, the fingerprints, and down below, saturated with blood. That's where I took the blood from. Now, just so you know, this is the kind of blood you get out of them. It's just raw blood. And they have the scab underneath and this little fibrin and everything, and you can see the little holes where the blood came out of, the vein and artery. This is more of this kind of a bone here, and it's like from a bone foramen, which is a little cavity where the blood vessels and the nerves run to the next bone. But just so you see here, it's not only that scab. When you take the scab away, you have the same stuff you have on us, which is the clotting fiber. I think they call it fibrin. And then when you take the fibrin away, you can actually see the blood vessels. And here they are right there. You see how I always talk about the black one? There's the blood vessel, the black one from the vein going up out of that hole right there. This hole right here comes up with the red one. And that's the artery. So you've got your vein and you've got your artery coming out of one of these bone foramens. And that came out of the other thing that I showed you with the scab. There's blood, it's saturated with blood in these bones, in these rocks. Not getting blood out of a rock is, no, wrong. All right, this is the other hand, a left hand. The palm is here, these are the bumper pads. The cleave between the two is right there. This is the grip skin. You see how this silver stuff peeled off here? This is really thin compared to the other one. The other one's like this thick. This hand was about 4 feet wide, somewhere around there. I can't really remember, but I think it's about 4 feet wide. And this is the tendon that runs down. This goes to your little finger. This goes off to your thumb. And I have the knuckles and fingers and bones and knuckleball and other things from this particular hand. And this is the grip skin, this silvery stuff. And it peels off because it's like that rubbery looking coated stuff. All right, I think I showed you what grip skin looks like. This is what grip skin is. Right there. It's just, and there's no blood in it. There's really no blood you can get out of it. So you got to get down into here, which is exactly what I did. And I did it on all of my stuff. So it came out virtually raw blood. He said it was excellent quality. Now, this just shows you a body part that I discovered. This right here. This is interstitium. And not only does it latch a body part into the rest of your body, this is that little flag right here. And this is a stone, but it just looks like raw meat. Through this little tube here, I believe it's that tube that runs into your next body organ to bring these fluids. This is brand new too. The interstitium is brand new. We had this head CAT scan. The nose is broken off, and you see the cartilage. Here's the vein and artery blood, the black and red. His head got smashed in. This belongs to Arlie Caudle. Found this in a mud bank down in Kentucky, and I worked with Jim Burchell on this. This goes back 8 years or more ago. Well, about 8 years ago. And nobody would accept that either. Nobody would look at any of this stuff. That's the key. Now, and I feel bad for the kids, because the kids are paying for all this stuff. And I'm going to go into the light research too, because this is not, they won't accept the reality of that either. So geology's wrong, anthropology's wrong, physics is wrong, chemistry's wrong, because they're not just like, hydrogen is not one particle. Hydrogen is 1824 or 1825, somewhere around there. It's not one. The whole periodic chart's got to change. It's time for the kids got a wide open field now, because everything's changed. Everything that they learn is not true. And if it is, I want to discuss it. If they think it's true, I want to just talk about it. This is not just rocks. These are not just rocks. That lung was DNA tested. It's right here. This is the pleura of the lung right here. You see this? They have this is another lung. That lung had blood coming out of it. You see these little spots? Those are little spots from the alveoli. This little round circles. You see these little circles here? Those are these circles here, the alveoli. This, the pleura, which is the coating, this fabric, is gone. This one here is gone. And it's filled in with silicates here. Now this one still has this fabric on the outside. They call it the tunica. It's a wrapping, a pleura. All right, so that's this one here. This one here is totally naked all the way down to this. Now this one here is halfway naked. This here is right there. And this is the pleura. It would have been on this one here, but it's shed partially off. And you see that? That's that same latch. You see this latch? Right there? That's the same latch as this one here. Same thing again here. See? Flat as a pancake. This one here, flat as a pancake. They all died in a hot water flood, it appears to me, and all of the soft, fleshy stuff sort of boiled off, cooked off, and turned into clay and mud. That's what I'm looking at right now. Okay, I talked about no toes. This is what I call the no toe. Mine is completely encased. It's virtually perfect. And it had a tibia, which is the big bone that comes down and sat right in that little cradle right there, held back by this little lip. They all have the same thing. And then it would have had the fibula on the side. Now the fibula is only held on by 3 ligaments that just hold it, and it just falls right off. And they all fell off. You see this one, it fell off. They all fall off on the side. That's just, and they all had them. Now these are not like our feet either. These were fused together. They've eroded a lot. This was from Tish Egerton. She found a bunch of these. And hold on one second. All right, this is really, really cool. This is the type of foot that these no-toes have. They have springs. They have a double-loaded spring. They still have the ball of the heel. They have the strap coming up. So they have the ball of the heel back here. They have the strap coming up, and it would have attached to the bone that sat in this cradle. There was a bone that sat in this cradle. Well, I'm going to show you this in a little better detail, but you see the fibula falls right off. The tibia would have sat here. This is eroded a little bit. Mine didn't erode. Mine, almost all my stuff is virtually perfect. It's just what happened. All right, check this out. I studied this for a couple of years. I think I got it figured out. And this was engineered as far as I'm concerned. You see, remember the heel, the ball of the heel, and the strap that came up that would have gone, see where it would have gone right up to here? This bone would have been sitting like right in that cradle. And that would come up and attach to here, just like I showed you in the anatomical before. Now, there's these little tabs here with, it looks like there's little latches in them. You see this? That tab, and there's like a little spring here. There's another one up there, you see it? And it's got a little, it looks like some kind of a wire coming out of it, some kind of a wire coming out of here, and the same thing here. Now, I think I understand what's going on there. Follow me carefully. Let's say there was some more toes out here. The toes were basically out here, and they could give a little bit of flexibility. They fall off. The Tish's ones, they fell right off, a lot of them. Now, what would happen when they stepped on that forward thing? It would push up here, which means it push up against here. That would rock this thing, right? Am I right or wrong? It would rock it. Now, what would that do? It would open up a spring. This is nothing more than a spring. It would open that up, and at the same time, twist this thing this way. What would that do? This is all one piece down to that little lever. So this would spin this way, and it has a little bit of flex in here. So it would spin up this way, at the same time pulling this in, which would pull this in. You see it? It wrapped right around here up to that latch over here. It looks like to me. It's a little bit eroded, so it's hard to be sure. But I see this coming around, coming up. You see this cavity here? That would mean that this could go up like this way, pulling this in to that cavity. So that cavity has a purpose. Now, what is this stuff? This is like a gummy stuff. I think they might even call it gumite. This yellowish looking stuff. And I think at one time that was gooey and gummy and like a pad. So that when this came up, and it would have something to bump up against. And when it rocked back, it would have something to bump up against. And this would be sort of like stretchy gooey. Stretchy gitchy goomy. And there's your cavity, so that when this thing went up, this could pull in and do this. Now, you see these little tiny dots? And this here, I don't know if this is attached to there or it came around here and attached somewhere else, maybe down here, and there was another one up for this bigger one, because it looks like one might have attached down here. So there might be one here that went right up around here. And, you know, it's hard to see. And the other one might have gone up and around down to there. And this one here, I don't know what that did. I'm telling you, this is, but I think it's a pretty cool engineering feat. Engineered foot, or is it engineering feet? I tell you. But that's one of the feet. And she had a whole leg from one of these. Hold on, I'll see if I got a picture of that. Hold on. Now you see that? That's a whole leg from one. This is the tendon pad that's on, almost like it's bolted on the side. Very strange. And it has these are not like clamshells or anything. This is a tendinous type of material. And then you have the heel bone here. You have a couple of spots for those springs. I believe these are actually, this one still has little bits of the toe left in it. And they're very, very wide. She sent me this. The whole thing's about that wide. Huge. And actually she sent me the other part too, the other foot. So I've investigated these pretty careful, and they're incredibly amazing. Absolutely incredibly amazing. And I think they, you know, I mean, this alters so much. This is not, it's nothing like our feet. Absolutely nothing like our feet. Not even close. This is our feet. It's got the same strap. It's got the same ball. It's got the same cradle, and the leg came down, and it would have had the fibula. You know, the tibia is the one that runs down the big bone, and then the fibula sits on the side. They just fall off, just like fell off here, fell off there. This is pretty compelling evidence that should be looked at. I mean, if you can't see that's a foot, I don't know what capability you have. And if you can't see, these are feet. Look at this. Here, hold on. I'll show you a bunch of them at once. Hold on. You see here? These are all basically similar. But they all have the tibia falls, the fibula falls right off. You see? You see? This one did too. The toes are fused together primarily. These fell right off. You see, they look like little sausages were in there. And these were, it needs to be looked at. Let me put it that way. This almost looks like it's a wing nut holding the bottom of this foot on. And mine has almost the same thing looking at the bottom of mine. You see right there? There's something going on the bottom right there. But it's got, you know, this was the guy, arch of the guy's foot. And I believe this one has springs in it too. But maybe a different style. I don't know. I have no idea. And this is where it folds over on this. That's a latch. That is not like some Michael Jordan emblem or something. This is everything folds over and gets stapled in. The leather interstitium basically is what it is. It's just leather. It's the leather. And when I look at this in a microscope, it's just basically identical to my belt. Identical. No difference whatsoever. It's leather. But it's not a guy's shoe. It's a guy's complete foot. That was a guy's complete foot. It's stunning this has been overlooked for so long. Okay, I'm going to make an offer. This is going to have to be investigated and be shown, and there'd be no better way to do it than a museum. I will donate virtually everything that I have that is mine. Now, there's things that are not mine. This head is not mine. This belongs to Arlie Caudle down in Kentucky. Not something I can donate. And this stuff right here, some of these no-toes are not mine. Those are tissues that I cannot donate. Everything else, virtually everything, with the hand and the fingers and the bloody this and that, and all, I got so much stuff, it's just absolutely, I have literally hundreds of things to donate. And even the light research and so forth. There could be different sections in the Museum of New Science. Because I'm going to tell you right now, here's what's going to change. This is what's changing because of mudfossil research. Geology is 100% different than what they told me and they told you. And if you go to learn it anywhere right now, you're going to just be learning nonsense. You're going to be learning the names of what different rocks look like. History is completely wrong. These are giants, dragons on the earth, no-toes. Everything that we ever thought was just silly is not silly. Archaeology's wrong. Anthropology's wrong. The subatomic model of particles is wrong, and I show that. But I will, in Mudfossil University, you'll not only get my side of it, you'll get the other side of it. I'll show you what they say and why I say they're wrong. And I'm saying they're wrong about everything. They're wrong about all the subatomic physics. When you get down into the nucleus, it's just totally wrong. The nucleus is made of only two little particles, a black one and a white one. I've shown it over and over and over and over and over and over. All the other stuff about biology and geology and all that stuff, biology even was wrong. They're finding new things based on mudfossil research, like interstitium. Totally unseen before because they're just working with little flat slides. I'm working with the big picture. I found interstitium back in 2012 or 2013. Maybe even before that. I worked with an anatomist. There's an autopsy anatomist. I said, "You ever see this before?" He said, "They just call that fuzz. They just throw it away. It's because it's just cushioning." I said, No, there's something else going on. And we worked on that for a couple of years. And then eventually in 2018, they came out and they said, "Yeah, this is a brand new organ. We never knew it was here before. Interstitium. You can look it up." It's time for the kids that are being taken advantage of to just say, "This is enough of this. Let's go to Mudfossil University, we'll document our own progress, and we'll present it to our prospective employer. What do we want to be involved in? Astrophysics? Do you want to know about space? Do you want to know about how quantum mechanics works and what the particles are made of and constructed and how light moves? Or you want to know about geology, biology, history?" All of that stuff is being taken care of here at Mudfossil University. Zero charge. Zero. You have to document your own progress. All right? Do a good job. Don't do like I did. I just slapped things together here. But again, I don't care about going to impress anybody. I just want it for my own use, and it works fine for me. But you need to impress somebody. You need to look organized. You need to look serious. You need to be explained something. You need to be able to walk in there and say, I want to tell you something about light. I want to tell you something about rocks, geology, whatever it is. And, you know, you don't go in there with a bad attitude. You know, I say that. I sort of have an attitude, I got to be honest with you. Because I find like it becomes confrontational at this point. Hopefully by the time you learn this stuff and people start to come around, it'll be more accepted. But you'll have the knowledge that nobody else will have. And sooner or later, you will be respected for that. It takes time, trust me. And it's not easy. It don't come easy. But if you want to just say what they're telling you to say because they're telling you to say it and you need that piece of paper, well, at some point, people will look at you and say, wow, you wasted all that money. And I really feel bad for the kids that have paid for their tuition and all that. You know, even if they give tuition refunds, what about the people that paid? What about the people that took other mortgages on their house so they could send their kids to college thinking they're getting so much knowledge and they're just being used? How about them? What do you do about those people? And I've shown this stuff. I tried to show this to Yale in 2015. And I showed the same thing with Fermilab and CERN and all of them, with the light particles. Not a single one would respond because it showed that they were wrong. There was no fighting. There was just, no, we won't talk to you. I don't think that's right. And I think the students should have some recourse. I don't know what to do about that, to be perfectly honest with you, but I sure as hell wouldn't want to be paying these people for the kind of knowledge that they're trying to pretend that they're investigating everything. They're not investigating anything. Peer review has crushed anybody's ability to even speak. They won't let you speak. I'm serious. They won't let you speak. I've tried submitted articles all over the place. Nope, never, not one. Nope, won't let you speak. Sorry, you're not peer reviewed. You have to have all these people say that you're right, and then we'll let you say that, then we'll say you're right. It's not the way it works. It's not science, my friends. And this is time to change everything. These kids should not have to pay for this kind of indoctrination. And all it is it's really, it's unbelievable that they can force the kids to pay, then they force them to say what they want them to say. Otherwise, they say that they couldn't learn and they aren't smart, and they take the money and don't give them a piece of paper that says they're smart. They say they're stupid. So what do? You had to pay them the money. You better say what they tell you to say, otherwise they're going to fail you. That's not a system that works. That's not a system that works at all. This is the system that will work. We'll discuss. We'll have forums. We'll think about things, and we'll come up with good working models. Not something that somebody told us to say 50 years ago, 100 years ago, or even 10 years ago. We want to look at everything with a whole new set of eyes. And that's what will happen at Mudfossil University. And as far as paying student debt, boy, I'll tell you, if they don't give them, I don't know how they're going to make this right for these kids, but it's right now, it's you know, and there's a bunch of them trying to fight for everybody's money in education. I've been approached by other universities to promote them as a source of education, and I declined. You know, Coursera, yes, absolutely. They're my heroes in learning. If you really want to learn, if you just want a piece of paper, then you better, I just wish you the best, because the paper for me meant absolutely nothing. Nothing at all. It was the understanding, the knowledge. That's what works for me. Just having somebody say, oh, I got a PhD, I got 2 PhDs, 3, 4, 5, I don't care how many you have. Not a single one of them is valid anymore. Unless you have some specific specialized skill. That's different. Programming, you know, there's some other things, but all of the sciences, forget about it. Any theoretical science, not even close. Not even close. All right, so stick with Mudfossil University. And like I say, I will offer all of my stuff for free to anybody that will start a university museum. I'd like to see it done in Connecticut. That's where the stuff was discovered. But at this point, I don't care. Whoever can do it, I'd like to see some offers. And like I say, somebody's going to have to do this. This is going to have to come out in the open. And I have all the evidence, and I have all of this already documented. There's almost nothing to do. You know, I have the DNA reports. I have some CAT scans. Didn't show a whole lot because nucleophilic substitution invasion pretty much changes the stone, the body into stone. So you're looking, it's very hard to see discriminating features, although you can see a little bit in the fingertip that I had CAT scan. Jesse Garant and Associates did 7 CAT scans for us. Absolutely fabulous. Nice work. Otherwise, you can't see anything. You can see it with the CAT scans. But other than that, you would have a very hard time seeing some of these things. So they did a very good job for us. And Helix Biolabs did the DNA. Absolutely fabulous people to work with. And they will be known as heroes for what they did. And so will Jesse and Fabio and all the people at Jesse Garant and Associates. Outstanding people. And they're doing big time work now. For all the top, all Rolls Royce all the way down. They can actually take engines and look at the engine in like a CAT scan and see if there's any issues in the engine. And they're working for everybody now. I saw them, very, very impressive. So and they may have something for you. There may be a job there for you. There may be a job at Boeing or somewhere else or wherever they're making engines. Or maybe wherever they're making electronics and stuff. This is a whole new time to get into this. Geology, even biology. A lot of that stuff wasn't understood because of the fact of the bacteria is so important in the body. Now, I know this turned into an extreme ramble, but I'm going to tell you right now, if you are getting into student debt, well, I'll tell you, that is a trap. And some of these kids are sleeping in their cars, they can't afford to do anything. And it just keeps building up and building up. That's why they're trying to do some forgiveness, but it doesn't sound like they're going to get it. I don't know what's going to happen. But I can tell you what, I wouldn't be happy if I was a student knowing what has been refused to be examined. Not that it was not credible. It's credible. There's no question it's credible. It's refused to be examined. And I looked up academic fraud, and they say that suppression of relative information, of good information that's supported by scientific, credible reports and all the things I'm showing, if that's suppressed because it's not wanted information, I think it says suppression of unwanted results, which this is, trust me, unwanted by anybody. None of this stuff is wanted. That is fraud. So you take it from there. It's been refused to be examined. Not just say, well, maybe it's right, maybe it's not. Well, no, we won't look at it. That's not correct. Students, I would be furious if I had paid for my education. I never paid anybody for anything. I went under the GI Bill after I was in the Army, so they did that for free. And then after that, I just went on my own studying. And then when the internet came up, I could go anywhere and learn. You can go to almost any college for free, as I think I showed you. So anyway, I'm going to leave it at that. But please, somebody step up and get a little more reality in the educational system. It's just not right what's happening. And the students are the ones that are being literally defrauded at this point. I don't see any other way to put it. And it's a fiduciary failure, no question about that at all. A fiduciary means they have to work in your best interest because you're vulnerable. You're vulnerable to these professors, and they say, no, you just shut up and just do as I say or we'll destroy you. Even though you're paying them so that you can earn more money, well, you're going to pay them so they can earn more money so that you do what you're being told to do. That's my last word. I love you all. I'd like to see you come around and be treated fairly. And that's not what's happening right now.